You'll see it come through the top of the screen. There it goes. And then the camera will slew to follow it.
This
My name is AJ with Most Amazing, and these are the top 10 unsettling times that scientists communicated with aliens. At number 10 is the alien in custody. So this former Air Force intelligence officer spilled the beans at a congressional hearing about how the US government has been keeping a lid on some of this wild alien stuff. Apparently, there's a lot more to UFOs than just rumors. At this congressional hearing, there were these three folks, David Grush, David Fravor, and Ryan Graves, all of whom used to work in the military. Fravor and Graves claimed that they saw these weird flying objects multiple times, like almost as if it was some kind of normal routine for them. And then there's Commander Ryan Grush, who didn't see any himself, but he talked about this top secret government program supposedly dealing with alien tech dating way back. Like, we're talking about stuff recovered from the 1930s, but however, the Pentagon's all, nope, nada, never happened. The hearing made it clear that even Congress themselves are being left out of the loop. Some senators want a review board to release all classified UFO records. It's pretty intense, especially since people are thinking that this could be all a big deal for national security. Graves said it right himself, we deserve to know what's happening in our skies. At number 9 is the interstellar base on Mars. Are we already in touch with aliens? A former head of Israel's space program is suggesting that humans have been mingling with aliens for years. Haim Eshed, a reputable figure with a long track record in space endeavors, dropped a bombshell about secretive interactions between the US and extraterrestrial beings. This 87-year-old Israeli insider spilled the beans on deals struck between the USA and aliens. Supposedly, they're teaming up to dig into the mysteries of the universe. He even went on to say that Elon Musk's whole life mission of colonizing Mars is all kind of for nothing because according to him, we've already done it. Yeah. Apparently, we already have a secret base hidden underground on Mars where Americans and aliens are working side by side. Pretty wild to think about the implications if this is true. Imagine humans rubbing shoulders with creatures beyond our planet, like not even in a Hollywood movie, but in real life. What would they look like? How do they communicate? What amazing things could we learn from them? It's like diving into a science fiction story, except according to Eshed, this is our reality. If you're enjoying this video so far, you can support the channel by pressing like, subscribing to Most Amazing, and ringing that notification bell. At number 8 are the 8 interstellar messages. 8 mysterious signals from outer space recently caught the attention of scientists. These signals might be from aliens. Scientists published their findings in a fancy science journal called Nature Astronomy. Now, why are these signals such a big deal? Well, scientists always keep an eye out for signals from outer space because they might be aliens trying to talk to us. These signals could show that there's someone out there using technology to try and communicate with us. But hold up, how do we know that these signals are from aliens? It's a good question. You see, these alien signals are different from regular human signals, or just pulsars, for example. Humans use wide-range signals for things like phones and Wi-Fi, but these alien signals, they're narrow and way different. That's what makes them special, and possibly from alien technology. Now, how did scientists discover these signals? Well, they used a clever AI program with a cool telescope. This AI checked 812 star systems from data collected by a satellite called Hippocros. And guess what? It found 8 signals that seemed promising that could possibly be from aliens. However, when scientists looked again, the signals were gone all of a sudden. Why? Nobody knows for sure. Maybe the aliens are being shy or just not that into chatting with us. But hey, it's still exciting because this means that there's somebody out there trying to reach us just from far, far away. At number 7 is NASA's golden record. Yeah, I'm talking about the Voyager golden records, basically those groovy golden discs that got launched into space in 1977. For those of you who don't know, the NASA Voyager is the first man-made object to ever leave our solar system. And so scientists thought, hey, if aliens ever find this thing, maybe we should leave some clues about how to find us. Carl Sagan, this big shot astrophysicist, and his team put a bunch of cool stuff on these records, like sounds of Earth, music, greetings in different languages, and they even managed to encode some pictures into it. But here's the kicker, how would aliens even know what to do with this freaking disc? Like, imagine just stumbling upon a weird disc, gold with symbols all over it, and having no clue how to play it or even what it is in the first place. Just pretty confusing. So basically, we can't exactly use stuff like English or like numbers or anything relatively human in general to try and communicate with these aliens because their point of reference might be completely different from ours. So we had to work really hard to come up with universal symbols in order to essentially create a language that will allow the aliens to crack the code. So on the golden record is a diagram which is supposed to depict a hydrogen atom. Now, essentially what's going on in the diagram is that it's depicting the electron of the hydrogen atom flipping its spin. Now, every element produces a certain wavelength when their electron flips their spin, and it's unique to each element. So if aliens can figure that out, now have a number that they can use for reference for the entire thing. And so there's also that cool star-looking map that's called a pulsar map. Essentially, the ends of the lines are supposed to depict pulsar stars. So they're essentially cosmic lighthouses, these stars that spin around really fast thanks to their magnetic poles and emit a beam of light. Each pulsar has its own unique frequency at the way it spins, and so using our hydrogen wavelength from earlier, aliens will be able to decipher which stars those are exactly, and thus be able to pinpoint where our planet is, which is all really convoluted and really cool. So cool, in fact, that I have it tattooed on my back. Anyways, these records also have some uranium stuff on their covers. Not dangerous though. They're meant to act as a clock telling aliens when exactly the records were sent out. So these records aren't just saying hi to aliens, they're also like a time capsule, which is pretty wild. But seriously, decoding messages to aliens is a whole other level of coolness. At number 6 is the Olympic broadcast. In 1974, humans shot a message to space from a massive telescope in Puerto Rico, but nobody actually heard it. We've been accidentally sending stuff like old TV shows into space for a while, which sounds pretty cool, but is kind of concerning. It might give the wrong first impression if our alien neighbors catch our TV shows. Now, some TV signals aren't nearly strong enough to escape our planet. While some are weak, while others might go a little bit stronger with their signal, but eventually they degrade over time. Even if they reached deep space, they'd be pretty quiet. Like dropping a pebble in the Pacific Ocean and expecting somebody in Japan to notice the ripple from California. So even if aliens picked up our stuff, they might not understand it as images or sound. They would just know it's tech made by somebody, but that's about it. Now, in the Olympics, during the reign leading to World War II, the famous dictator with the mustache delivered a speech, and that broadcast was so loud and powerful, it might actually be the very first thing that aliens discover about us. Yeah, imagine if we met them like, hey, we got a message from you. Yeah, that was from our worst guy like ever.
Starting us off at number 10 is the Madonna with St. John. Dating back to the 15th century, this iconic painting is arguably one of the most debated depictions of alien life on Earth. Likely painted by Domenico Galileo. I mean, there is debate there too, but that's another story. However, as you can see, it depicts the Madonna with baby Jesus and St. John. However, if you zoom into the top right corner, you'll notice something very strange. There is an unnamed man shielding his eyes from what looks like a bright light in the sky, and beside him is a dog staring up at the same shining object. The object appears to be strangely similar to most modern depictions of a UFO, painted as a dark oval with light rays shooting out from every angle, and has definitely been the subject of much debate among alien believers and non-believers for decades. Now, it wasn't unusual for the time to paint angels or other celestial beings brightly shining down on us from the sky, but as this specific painting appears to have no such addition to the light and is simply a strangely specific flying saucer, it has led many to believe that the painter was depicting a real-life alien sighting. And truth be told, it wasn't the first time such things showed up in artwork, and it is also not the last. Could it really be a UFO? I don't know, you tell me. Coming in at number 9, coins. During a house renovation in Egypt, a group of workers say that they found 2 coins that had very unusual portraits on them. The first they found resembles the head and shoulders of an alien, while the other looks more like it depicts an alien spaceship landing, and they immediately freaked out. Plus, one of them apparently had the words opportunus adest carved on the back, which is Latin for there is an opportunity, which definitely comes across a little spooky. I won't lie, there's a lot of debate around the validity of these coins. As many have pointed out, the coins could have easily been manipulated by believers, but it has been countered by the fact that either way, there's no actual concrete proof that they don't come from aliens. I mean, I have some questions. Would aliens even use currency like us, let alone physical currency? I honestly have no clue, but I mean, if I came across these coins, I too might be just as suspicious about their origin. Coming in at number 8, the Second Punic War sightings. During the Second Punic War, which occurred in ancient Rome between 218 and 201 BC, there were apparently many sightings of strange sky phenomenon that today believers claim were aliens coming down to Earth. These alleged sightings were found in the Annales Maximi, which is essentially a historical record kept by the chief high priest during the Roman Republic, and in it is the tale of a day in 218 BC where ships that apparently gleamed in the sky came out of clouds and stayed floating in the sky. And I mean, I don't blame anyone for jumping to an alien conclusion on that one. Then 2 years later in 216 BC, a similar sighting was documented where large gleaming round shields allegedly traveled through the air. Conspiracy theorists have clung on to these writings, pointing out how both descriptions can easily be imagined as the common UFO described in our modern era. Plus, this war was not the only one in history to claim such things happening in the sky. I mean, just like everything else on this list, will we ever know if the writings in the historical record really were an alien sighting? Probably not, unless we can figure out a time traveling situation, but it is a little suspicious, I would say. Coming in at number 7, Egyptian hieroglyphs. There's a lot of debate around alien involvement in ancient Egypt, and aside from the eternal debate of if aliens helped build the pyramids, hieroglyphs depict just about the most suspicious signs of extraterrestrial help. Now, I'll be the first to say that I don't think all hieroglyphs point towards ancient alien invasion, but that doesn't mean that there aren't a few that raise an eyebrow. One in particular is a hieroglyph appearing to show the Egyptians in possession of electricity, which, if that were true, feels like a surefire sign that they were not alone down here. The tableau depicts what appears to be people holding an electric lamp or maybe a light bulb, and believers have not wasted any time adding this to their Rolodex of reasons. And it's not just electricity that ancient Egyptians may have possessed, but other hieroglyphs seem to portray other forms of advanced technology that, in theory, they would have no way of knowing about. Hieroglyphs with a spooky resemblance to helicopters or planes have been found and gone viral, only adding to the mystery of how on earth this could have been something they would possibly know about. Could it be that aliens came down and gave them knowledge to advance their technology? Could the alleged airplane drawings be a UFO they saw in the sky? Conspiracy theorists say absolutely. Coming in at number 6, Dagu. Not every sign of alien life has to do with a UFO sighting. Sometimes the signs are a bit more subtle. Dating back roughly to between the years of 14,000 and 400 BC, ancient Japan was known for crafting small human-like statues out of clay called dagu. These statues usually measure between 4 to 12 inches, and while the exact reason for their construction remains under speculation, there are two main theories. The first is that dagu were created as part of an ancient healing and fertility ritual, which could very well be true. However, the second one is a little more intriguing as it involves aliens. Now, if you take a look at these statues, they don't just look like a normal human statue. They have a strange, bulbous sort of look to them with large beanie baby eyes and kind of appear to be wearing what some have described as a stylized spacesuit. That, along with the helmeted head, has created a ton of speculation around if they were in fact modeled after aliens who visited ancient Japan and made contact with its inhabitants. I suppose we might never know for sure, but it's definitely an interesting theory.
Kicking off the list at number 10, Gliese 581G. Kicking this list off with an exoplanet hiding in the constellation Libra. Yeah, to all my fellow Libras out there, this one's for you. Happy early birthday. It was discovered back in 2010, but Gliese 581G, still to this day, its confirmation is hard to pinpoint. Yeah, the thing with exoplanets is that they're a little far away. They're a little hard to see out there. But somehow the fine minds over at the University of Puerto Rico at Arecibo calls Gliese 581 the top candidate for alien life. You heard it here, folks. There we go. It's only sitting 20 light years away from our very own sun, and Gliese 581G is 3 times as large as Earth. So to all my Libras, bring a friend or two. Let's party it up. We got room. If you're a fan of New Year's parties, again, this is the planet for you. Every 30 days, we're counting down to a new year. So we don't have to wait too long to party. Off to a good start. Number 9, HD 85512b. This next planet's in HD, Chris. There you go. Put on your 3D glasses. Announced in 2011 alongside 50 other planets. Okay. HD 85512b was discovered by the High Accuracy Radial Velocity Planet Searcher instrument, or to save you some breath, HARPS for short, over in Chile. Yeah, Chile's casually exploring 50 planets over in their weekend. Okay. It's wild how some of these discoveries happened so long ago, but we don't talk about them nearly enough. Again, same deal as the Gliese 581g. This planet too is 3 times the size of Earth. It's actually 3.5 times bigger. Yeah, as far as commutes go, it'll take some time to get there. Yeah, we're still working on that part. The HD planet hides around 35 light years away from us. This one you can find in the constellation Vela, aka the snail. Is it truly habitable? Is there water on this planet? Well, that's to be determined. Our boy James Webb's gonna take a peek real soon. Number 8. Gliese 581e. Wait a minute, how many Glieses are there? Is a single Gliese a goose? What's going on here? In typical part 2 fashion, I had to include another Gliese. There's actually 4 of them in total. I'm not going to do all 4 though. For more than 4 years, the HARPS spectrograph attached to the ESO telescope in Chile, they were finding groundbreaking discoveries for 4 years straight. Astronomers found the lightest exoplanet so far to this day. The lightest planet, that's crazy. This one is quite small compared to others on this list. Gliese 581e is only twice the mass of our Earth, whereas the planet furthest out, Gliese 581d, orbits its star every 67 days. While Gliese 581e completes its orbit every 3 days. You know what I mean? Yeah, having a birthday every 3 days? Oh, what a nightmare that would be. I'm never going to this planet. This one can stay off our radar. Little small Gliese, little Gliese. Number 7, carbon on Mars. It's one thing to have Elon Musk tweeting about going to Mars or whatever he's doing over there, buying Twitter, I guess. But when NASA talks about it, I get a weird feeling, you know? It's NASA, you know? They're old school. They're like, we may have found carbon 40 years ago. Yeah. That's just it. That's the tweet. In 2022, just back in January, NASA's Curiosity rover measured carbon signatures on Mars. This is huge. Paul Mahaffey, principal investigator of the sample analysis at Mars, he says, quote, "We're finding things on Mars that are tantalizingly interesting, but we would really need to get more evidence to say that we've identified life." End quote. Okay, so we're close. It sounds like we're a little close. I don't know. Side note, imagine going on a Willy Wonka trip to Mars with Elon. Do we want to go? Like, he's announcing all these trips to Mars. I don't want to do that. I can't even drive to Ottawa for 4 hours, let alone Mars for years. No way. I'm homesick already. Number 6, Ryan Graves' UFO sightings. I mentioned this a little bit back in part 1, but I of course have to add more. Back in 2017, a $22 million defense program was put in place. It was called the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program. Now its purpose was to study military encounters with UFOs. And at this point, Navy pilots were coming out with their own story. Their eyewitness account of seeing a UAP, or a UFO if you're old school. Eventually, come 2019, senators felt the need to be briefed on these sightings. It was that serious. After a vote by the Senate Intelligence Committee in June 2020, it was agreed that UAP reports were now to get added to the Intelligence Authorization Act for 2021 and going forward. That's crazy. That's why more and more footage is coming out now every other week, you know what I mean? These incidents were filmed ages ago, but only now are they being released. It's kind of cool. According to the Times, 120 incidents were studied during this case, and it turns out the US military is not responsible for any of the 120. If they happen to be advanced drones sent to spy on the military, it's kind of important to find out who sent them, know what I mean? And recently, a former Navy pilot, Ryan Graves, he spoke out to 60 Minutes, and he explained that these UAPs would pop up during training exercises every day for at least a couple of years. He says, and I quote, "If these were tactical jets from another country that were hanging out up there, it would be a massive issue. But because it looks slightly different, we're not willing to actually look at the problem in the face. We're happy to just ignore the fact that these are out there watching us train every day." That's a quote from Ryan Graves. Real pilot. And these are goosebumps for me. Awesome, I'm terrified. Are aliens real? What are we doing, man? Like, let's move on before I faint. My gosh.
Starting us off at number 10 is Saint Wolfgang and the Devil. Famously painted by Michael Pachal during the 15th century, St. Wolfgang and the Devil is said to be based around a legend of St. Wolfgang, the Bishop of Regensburg during the 10th century. As the legend goes, St. Wolfgang saw a church within his heart and vowed to build it. One day he struck an axe to the ground in the place where it was to be built, but after having trouble finding someone to help him, he managed to enlist and trick the devil into building the church for him. There's a lot more to it, but that's essentially the gist. However, nowadays, internet sleuths who come across this famous painting have been quick to point out that the creature seen in it looks less like the devil, but more like a creepy winged alien. And I mean, part of me does get it. Like, just take a second to look at the creature. It's literally depicted as a scaly green monster with a second face on his butt, which is unlike any depiction of the devil I have yet to come across. So could it have been an alien? Your guess is as good as mine. Coming in at number 9, rock drawings in Val Camonica. First described in 1909 by geographer Walter Lang, these petroglyphs, or rock drawings, are believed to date back to roughly 10,000 BC. Now, this wouldn't be the first time that rock drawings had been used in the case for alien contact. Take the Wena, for example. They have on more than one occasion been used as proof of ancient alien contact, but these rock drawings found in Italy are in particular a little extra suspicious. Many believe that they look like two people in strange helmets, yielding unidentifiable weapons, which, to be fair, does sound pretty alien-like. And between the humanoid figures dressed in protective suits and the sheer amount of these that exist in the area, I wouldn't totally rule out some alien hands in the pie. Like, just look at these drawings. I have to admit, they do look like ancient astronauts, a concept that would not have existed back then, unless they were depicting some strange alien race visiting them from the sky. Coming in at number 8, Israel, put your hope in the Lord. Dating back to the 1600s, this painting shows a house surrounded by thunderclouds with a strange gray disc hovering over the house with what appears to be smoke or maybe even fire coming out of the top. And I mean, it's hard to not get the UFO claims on this one. Some who wish to disprove the alien spaceship theory have pointed out it's probably meant to represent God, wielding a shield, hence the gray circle coming down from the sky. And to be fair, I can see that being true. But I can also see this being a spaceship, because I mean, well, look at it. Also, the UFO is like right in the prime time abducting setting, thunderous storms, limited visibility, over a house, blaming God for the disappearance. I mean, it's got all the pieces. The only question is, which one is true? Coming in at number 7, Strange Silver Man. Dating back to 700 BC, when it was first discovered in the frosty Altai region where the Russian and Chinese borders meet, archaeologists first believed it would have belonged to the Scythian people, a notoriously aggressive tribe with a reputation that preceded them in their time. Apparently, the warriors were well known for killing their enemies and drinking their blood out of a bowl fashioned from their skull. So yeah, some scary folks. However, if it was an artifact from then, what was it meant to represent? Once the picture got out to the public, many people were saying that this mysterious figure was more like a spooky spacesuit wearing alien than anything else. Begging the question, was it made by aliens or made by the Scythians for the aliens? I guess we won't ever know for sure unless aliens come down again and tell us for themselves. Coming in at number 6, the Svetoshoveli Cathedral fresco from the 1600s. While there are lots of suspicious beams of light in old historical paintings, that isn't the only thing that has made people uneasy over the years. This 17th century painting depicting the crucifixion of Jesus also comes with some questionably alien looking blobs. Well, at first you are likely to just notice Jesus on the cross, right smack in the middle. If you take a second to glance on either side of him, you may notice some oddly shaped blobs in the corners. While art historians explain that these are meant to represent angels watching the event, or potentially even the moon and sun, which was also common at the time. While art historians explain that these are meant to represent angels watching the event, or potentially the moon and sun, which was also common at the time. However, lots of alien believers out there have a different theory, that they are UFOs. Now, If you ask me, they look a little bit more like jellyfish than anything else, but I do see the UFO resemblance. Now, to be fair, some believers of the conspiracy have also suggested it could be a mix of both. Maybe aliens came down from the sky, but people just assumed they were angels since, well, what else would have been coming down from the sky? If only we could travel back in time to see what was really there.
At number 10, the Anita Experiment, the scientific discovery that proves the existence of parallel universes. Now, okay, this one isn't technically aliens per se, but I wanted to mention it first because not only is it real, but come on, what's more exciting? Extraterrestrial visitors or extra-dimensional ones? Huh? Imagine a remote research station in Antarctica where scientists diligently hunt for cosmic rays. Now that's intriguing on its own, but it gets even better. See, naturally they had their instruments facing the sky, but then these researchers suddenly detect not one, but two signals shooting out of the ground beneath them, defying all logic. See, these rays of neutrinos are supposed to come from supernova, so it's highly improbable that the rays are passing through the Earth without coming into contact with a single particle of matter, only to land on a tiny weather balloon in the sky. To make sense of this, scientists dived into over 40 papers offering a buffet of explanations. Dark matter, elusive particles called sterile neutrinos, and then, the grandest of them all, a parallel universe, essentially a mirror image of ours, but where time runs backwards. Imagine that! This audacious idea isn't pulled out of thin air either. It's rooted in actual science, a theorem which hints that alongside our universe, an antimatter universe stretches backward through time before the Big Bang. But let's tap the brakes here, because a more down-to-earth theory has surfaced. That's right, hold your antimatter horses, because it turns out it's more likely that these signals were simply reflected off of ice or skipped off subglacial lakes. The truth, it seems, is more grounded, reflecting high-energy particles, not parallel dimensions. Sorry, y'all. I mean, unless you want to go ahead and put away Occam's razor. But before I do, if you're enjoying the video so far, you can support the channel by pressing like, subscribing to Most Amazing, and ringing that notification bell. At number 9, alien fossils. Back in 1996, NASA dropped a bombshell. Well, not literally. They stumbled upon a meteorite from Mars right there on our very own Antarctica. This space wanderer, a potato-shaped piece of Martian real estate, harbored something truly astonishing, a fossilized microbe. That's like finding a cosmic postcard in your backyard. This meteorite most likely embarked on a 15 million year journey across our solar neighborhood before cozying up on Earth. Now, let's dig deeper. The rock didn't just bring this Martian visitor, it also packed organic molecules. But before we declare aliens, bear in mind that this is an ongoing debate in the scientific arena. Some argue that this is a smoking pew-pew of extraterrestrial existence, while skeptics keep their feet firmly on Earth. What's your take on this otherworldly puzzle? At number 8 is the frozen ancient civilization. Enter Corey Goode, a name synonymous with the clandestine narrative that spirals deep beneath the Antarctic ice. The year was 2017 when Goode's voice resonated through the annals of conspiratorial discourse, asserting that a buried treasure lay beneath 2 miles of frigid ice, an ancient alien civilization, frozen in time. But let's rewind to 1939, a German expedition that allegedly stumbled upon this enigma. Fast forward to 2002, and the site begrudgingly opened its icy gate to scientists and archaeologists. What's captivating is Goode's own voyage, facilitated by the US Air Force, to witness the fabled civilization. A civilization that was rumored to be standing 55,000 years in Earth's past. This story leaves us yearning for forthcoming years to yield more insights into these Antarctic enigmas. At number 7, the Antarctic pyramids. In 2016, rumors of pyramid-like mountains circulated the internet, capturing the imaginations of many. Could it be a creation of ancient civilizations, or perhaps, cue the dramatic pause, evidence of ancient extraterrestrial intervention? This square-based pyramid is perched upon the Ellsworth Range, standing around 4,000 feet tall. That's like 10 times the size of the pyramids of Giza. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. Or should I say, tip of the pyramid? Reports of plant and bacterial life dating back eons also have come to light, suggesting that maybe, just maybe, a prehistoric, or should I say pre-human society once grazed this frigid expanse, crafting not only pyramids but also tending to the vegetation. Bam! Proof of ancient aliens. Or just a neat geological formation. I'll let y'all decide in the comments. At number 6, Admiral Byrd's Crystal City. Esteemed US naval officer Admiral Richard Byrd was one of the first pilots to fly over both poles, organizing Operation High Jump, the largest expedition to ever travel to Antarctica with kinds of ships, aircraft, and crew in order to scout locations for potential military bases. But during his explorations, Admiral Byrd allegedly came upon something highly unexpected. The following comes not from a public account, but from his own diary discovered by his son after Byrd's passing, in which he recounts an extraordinary discovery. Upon encountering a large cave in the South Pole through which he could easily fly his plane, Byrd steers his plane into the opening and flew underneath the earth. As he flies within the massive cave, he encroaches upon an incredibly temperate and lush environment, not something you'd expect in the South Pole. But that's just the beginning. He tells about how he sees a shimmering rainbow city made out of crystal. Suddenly he loses control of his plane as flying disc-shaped objects lead him to the ground, whereupon he's escorted to a being which he refers to as the Master in his diary, who tells Byrd that it's massively disappointed with nuclear weapons and how they've recently destroyed Hiroshima and Nagasaki, seeming to really be concerned with what's going on the surface, telling Byrd that these aliens hope humanity will ultimately stop this.
Kicking off our list at number 10, monsters and aliens. In medieval times, things that were considered alien were not the same as our understanding today, not even close. For example, long ago in the 4th and 5th century BCE, two ancient Greek travelers visited India and described these remote places and its customs. Now back then they described these lands as different worlds, like literally different worlds, with their customs being viewed with fear and misunderstanding, of course, classic. Ctesias of Knidos and Megasthenes, they both have odd details in their journeys that have been documented and detailed in Pliny the Elder's Natural History. They're a little weird. Back then, a Donastray was a monster or some sort of alien that was from the legends of Alexander. Now, this monster would catch a traveler in the woods, and it could speak any language that they could, ergo trouble. And at that point, this monster pretends to know their relatives to gain their trust. Then the Donastray devours the whole victim, just eats them. Yum. Eventually, this monster got a reputation for having a lion's head, and the whole eating people thing, well, perhaps it was just a lion. That could have been the case. Also mentioned in natural history are Tartars. Back then, Tartars were believed to have come from a different world, specifically that of hell, when in reality they were the ferocious Mongols that invaded Europe in the Middle Ages. Not from hell, not even close. After they conquered Poland in the 13th century, it was believed that they came from hell. That's how scary they were. They weren't aliens, they weren't monsters, they were just Mongols. That's all. Maybe they're just Mongols flying up still. We have no idea. Number 9, the baptism of Christ. All right, let's get to some proof of this, out of world alien life. Not a lion, let's talk about flying ships, right? That's why we're here. In the form of art too. How lovely and jarring is that? Currently displayed in the Fitzwilliam Museum in Cambridge lies the baptism of Christ, a painting created by the Dutch artist Erik de Geld back in 1710. Now this painting of his is considered proof to some of some secret knowledge to the public. Now the painting shows these 4 massive beams of light coming down from what appears to be a disc-like object onto, of course, the baptism happening below. Some good alien lighting, that's good. It's almost like this lighting here, but, less lists, more baptisms. That's what it was like. Now, I know this is later than the Dark Ages, of course, but when it comes to art and alien life, I have to throw this one in, of course. Because where did this idea come from? What was the inspiration behind this one? Who were they? Who were these DJs from above? No idea. How long have aliens been around? Medieval times? The Victorian era? Ancient Egypt? With the pyramids? Oh, who knows? Number 8, the Madonna with Saint Giovanni. One of my favorite paintings of all time. Here we go. This and the Screaming Woman. That's good. I love drippy art and aliens. Always a good time. In fact, if I saw a UFO, I would do the scream, probably. The Madonna with Saint Giovanni is a fascinating painting as it shows an airborne craft in its top right corner behind Madonna's shoulder. It's right there. Normally I draw a sun, but here it's a UFO, so that's a little different. That's cool. Now, some have speculated that she's trying to even protect her children from this alien flying object, which, well, now I can't unsee. But what do we think this is? If it's not a UFO, then what's up? Maybe it was a shooting star. I don't know. I saw a green meteor last night in Toronto. It was pretty jarring. If it were the Dark Ages, I would have no idea what I just saw burning for 14 seconds. It was green too. So scary. Maybe I would paint it as such. I don't know. Also, a man is seen looking at the UFO and his dog is barking at it. So if anything, we need to interview that guy more than anything. So what did you see? Okay. And what did your dog see? More importantly. Number 7, aliens and wonders. When we look back at the Dark Ages, we don't have much. I mean, really, we have a few paintings, some books. In comparison to all the documentation we have today, we have no idea how much we're missing in history at that time. Aliens in the Dark Ages were often these illustrations of monsters or odd humanoid creatures. Now, these monsters were actually used to depict social groups that did not adhere to the standards of these, old white Christian men, essentially. This painting of a siren, for example, it's a bird, woman, monster. She's in the ocean doing something. She's naked. This originated in Greek mythology. She She's surrounded by men who've drowned after being lured to her by probably song. Now, the imagery of the siren suggests that the feminine corruption is ultimately responsible for the downfall of men, right? Not that sirens are real, that they're flying drones in and out of the oceans. I mean, today I can't explain those drones going in and out of the oceans, but do I think that they're naked women flying around? No, I mean, but no, probably not. Number 6, medieval sky battle. Short and sweet, this one here. Okay, this looks like the inside of my old high school locker. There's a lot going on, a lot of ideas, a lot of doodles. This Nuremberg broadsheet shows us a battle, an Avengers level threat, really, it looks like. And this took place on April 14th, 1561, whatever this was. The aerial battle involved globes, crosses, and even tubes? Tubes? I don't know. Could these be the same tubes that we see today that we think are UFOs? These cigar-shaped UFOs have been breaking the internet these days, but well, maybe it's the same vehicle. Maybe they just saw it back then. People viewed the event as a divine warning. Yeah, you don't say. That's, yeah, fair. Number 5, medieval cloud ships. This is my favorite. I actually love this one. In a 9th century Latin manuscript, Liber Contra Insulum Vulgi Opinonium, great title, really rolls off thy tongue. It was written by the Archbishop of Lyons, and in it he complained about thy French peasantry's belief in a certain religion called Magonia, from whence come ships in the clouds. Yeah, Magonia, let's go and visit that. It's in the clouds somewhere. The occupants of these vessels carry back to their region, again in the sky, fruits of the earth which are destroyed by hail and tempests. Alright, so aliens steal our fruit and then go back. Okay, cool. It's not too bad, could be worse. The sailors paying rewards to the storm wizards would receive corn and other produce in return. Hey, trade you some food for food. Alright. Peace. Jacob Grimm, a 19th century folklorist, speculated that Magonia takes us to some region where Latin was once spoke, and we refer to it as Magus, almost like a magical land, aka aliens or space wizards. I like space wizards a lot more than aliens, I'll tell you that. Imagine M. Night Shyamalan, he's like, yeah, so a space wizard walks by the birthday party. You're like, what? Number 4, the miracle of snow. Being Canadian, I want none of that. I want no miracles of any snowfalls. 1428, another painting, another speculation. Here we go. This one here was painted by Masolino de Panical. The miracle of the snow shows the legend of snowfall that happened on a hot summer day, somehow in Rome in the 4th century. Yeah, how does it happen, right? Jesus and Mary are seen overlooking this incident from atop of, you guessed it, a cloud. Cool, great, it's like the box seats back then. But behind them, again, are disc-shaped objects. UFOs, like, you know, the disc shape that we see over and over century after another. That's what scares me with all these paintings, that they're all kinda more or less the same. They're all a UFO. These objects could be clouds. That's a fun theory. No, it's not a fun theory at all. It's a boring one. They're aliens, right? Hit that thumbs up for aliens. If we had one of these, we'd click that down there for sure. Number 3, Medusa. Could Medusa be an alien? You know, with the snake, hear me out, let's talk about it. Another one of the most recent paintings on our list is Medusa by Caravaggio. Now, we all know the story of Medusa, right? This woman with snakes for hair that when you look at her, you turn to stone. You know, that's a nice fun story before you go to sleep. And this painting here really captures her essence, you know, perfectly. Her beauty, her grace, and her eyes that you can't really look at in real life. Now we can see her, right? In this horrific moment. This painting was meant to be a depiction of the defeat of Medusa, and legend goes that Perseus, who is the son of Zeus and Danae, he was given a shield by Athena. Pretty helpful shield. They're like, thanks Athena, that'll probably help in battle. He took this shield to battle Medusa herself, and he managed to outsmart her by letting her catch a glimpse of her own reflection in the shields. Yeah, gotcha. Made you look, Medusa. And then she turned herself into stone, and that's when he took his sword and then ended her life in a certain way that involves this being off of her body. I won't say the word, but you know what's up. This is the moment that the painting is portraying. The painting was created by Michelangelo in 1597, and it was the second of this kind, which is honestly really creepy. But again, where did this inspiration come from? Aliens? UFOs? Monsters? Are these things real? A lot of people think aliens are like octopus in nature, like, you know, like Nope, spoilers alert, but that's kind of very octopus in nature. Maybe that's what aliens look like. Maybe they have octopus heads. Number 2, Underworld. This painting by Hans Memling was created in 1485, another medieval horrifying painting of another world. Looks like hell, but we'll see. This is one of 3 double-sided panels that were created, and it features a banner that reads, "There is no redemption in hell." Fun one, that's cool. It says like Tyler underneath it. This painting features some sort of devil, alien creature with fangs and wings. I don't know, angel wings, bat wings, not really sure here. But it has an entire face on its belly, which, I don't know, that says alien to me. Never seen one of those up here in our Earth planet. Its hands and feet are claw-like, and it's depicted stepping or dancing on the backs of people who are in the mouths of some sort of another beast. So it's like a beast in a mouth situation. That's cool, that's art. It's absolutely terrifying, especially for those who believe in the existence of hell or other worlds. Especially these medieval worlds, like Cloudland or whatever that is. Sounds way more fun than that one, that's for sure. And finally, number 1, Lost City of the Incas. Did aliens build this medieval world? No, probably not, but it's a fun one to end on, right? Currently a wonder of the modern world, Machu Picchu was built over 500 years ago. It was first discovered in 1911 by archaeologist Hiram Bingham. Now originally, he and a small team were heading out to find the ancient city of Vilcabamba. But during their commute from Cusco, they found, well, this ancient city instead. They're like, hey, I mean, also pretty good. Many of these stones, of course, weighed a lot, over 50 tons, impossible to move. And with Machu Picchu translating to Old Mountain, this seems like an impossible build from the Inca. Should be like, this is like tripping me out as I'm talking about it. I'm like, how did they do it? This makes no sense. The city is designed perfectly. I mean, after 500 years of foul weather, even earthquakes, nothing's destroyed this ancient city. No idea how they did it. Probably aliens, just like they did the pyramids, right? Elon Musk thinks that aliens built the pyramids, so I mean, if he's saying that, right? I know that.
At number 5, a UFO is discovered. In October of 2020, satellite images of Antarctica unveiled a peculiar sight. Amidst the icy expanse, an object resembling a semicircular flying saucer emerged, slightly elevated and casting a telltale shadow. Believed by some to be an ancient aircraft dating back thousands if not millions of years. The notion of aliens opting for this secluded spot brims with intrigue. However, before we leap into intergalactic conclusions, it's essential that we exercise caution. While this image sparks conjecture, we do lack conclusive evidence about its origin or purpose. At number 4 is the alien base. If this next story is to be believed, there's allegedly a secret alien base with advanced and unconventional weapons hidden in the icy waters of the Antarctic. According to a video uploaded by UFO hunters, a mysterious anomaly about 180 kilometers off the coast of Antarctica has been spotted. They speculate that it's not just some kind of hangar for a spaceship, but that actual aliens might be residing there too. Now this may veer toward the conspiracy side rather than urban legend, but hey, it's all in good fun. Some believers are advocating for an expedition to confirm the existence of these aliens, while others voice concerns about potentially sparking an intergalactic war if we're not careful. So whatever it is, let's just hope we tread carefully. At number 3, the Kraken. The Kraken is a legendary maritime menace straight from the annals of Scandinavian folklore, a colossal cephalopod-like creature feared for its ship-swallowing antics and sailor-dragging tendencies. But could this creature of nautical nightmares actually be an alien? Yeah, you heard me right. A Reddit user named Bavin Hunter has set their investigative sights on Google Earth, claiming that they spot what appears to be a Kraken near Deception Island in Antarctica. Quite the ironic location, I must say. They suggest that this dark spot lurking in the depths might just be this mystical monster. Granted, we've got some real-life cephalopods that can stir the imagination, but they're not exactly Kraken-sized. Or maybe it's a cryptic alien being lurking beneath the icy depths. At number 2, alien DNA. Traces of potential alien DNA were discovered in the Antarctic, a mind-boggling revelation that recently shook the scientific community regarding DNA traces found beyond the depths of certain Antarctic caverns. Algae DNA, intertwined with fragments from minute creatures, paints a picture of potential alien origin. Though no immediate creatures were unearthed, this discovery opens portals to speculation. Could Antarctica, once deemed a barren expanse, have teemed with diverse life forms? For life here are akin to an extraterrestrial habitat, hinting at hidden chambers harboring unexpected life. Warmth emanating from beneath the icy veneer adds to the intrigue, making it plausible for life to have gained a foothold here. At number 1 is the crashed UFO on Google Maps. In the realm of mysterious Antarctic enigmas, 2019 incident lit the extraterrestrial fuse. Enter Scott C. Waring, a fervent UFO enthusiast who, armed with Google Maps, embarked on a digital Antarctic odyssey. His pixelated gaze locked onto a triangular UFO ensnared within the icy clutches. With a distinctive hump and formidable edges, this alien ridge, should the thought unshackle this craft, could we witness an eerie revival of extraterrestrial occupants? This UFO trapped in icy stasis awaits a tangible inquiry, as its revelation could potentially reshape our cosmic worldview. So as we peel back the layers of ice and venture deeper into Antarctic's hidden past, we're left with a trove of unsolved puzzles. Are these clues pointing to the extraterrestrial visitors, or are they simply the product of natural phenomena that we've yet to fully comprehend? The allure of the unknown keeps us asking questions, keeps us searching for that flicker of insight that might illuminate the truth. And whether you find yourself firmly grounded in skepticism or ready to embrace the possibility of otherworldly contact, one thing is for sure: the Antarctic holds its secrets close.
Coming in at number 5, the tomb of Pachal. Ruler of the Mayan city in Palenque, the tomb of Pachal is considered one of the most important archaeological discoveries. The tomb itself was found in the Temple of Inscriptions, but it's the story that appears to be dictated on the lid of the tomb that has captured the attention of ufologists across the globe. Said to communicate how Pachal's soul is going to make its way back to the stars from where he originally came. To undertake this journey, it's said he will use the monster of the sun, or what some nowadays might call a spaceship. Now, if you look at how Pachal is seated, it is strangely similar to how an astronaut sits while preparing for takeoff. And if you look closely, it does appear that there is something attached to his nose. Some say that it could be an air supply of some sort, plus at the bottom of the alleged aircraft, some argue that the waves appear to be fire and smoke, just like a modern day rocket. I mean, there are definitely some parts I can understand, but art is often open to interpretation, so it's hard to say what could be a literal depiction of a rocket and what could have just been some noodling around. But many still believe it is just too specific to be a happy accident. Coming in at number 4, the Lolodov plate. First found near the end of World War II in Nepal by Polish professor Sergei Lolodov, unlike most artifacts, this piece wasn't uncovered, but rather purchased. Immediately, he knew something was different about this piece. It appeared to date back to roughly 7000 BC and was covered in mysterious, seemingly extraterrestrial depictions. Most obviously, the humanoid creature in the middle that bears a striking resemblance to the gray alien species, but also the surrounding creatures, and most importantly, how close the disc itself resembles an alien UFO. Next, he showed it to a fellow professor, Robin Evans, who studied ethnology, and knowing that there was something very special about this piece, wanted to know more. So in 1947, Robin Evans organized an expedition to Tibet. Once there, he befriended the locals and learned the language so that he could interview the religious leader Lurgan La to find out more about where this strange disc had come from. According to the leader, the disc was made by the Zopa people, who crash landed in the area around 1014 CE and happily lived there for thousands of years. These people explained that they had come from a planet in the Sirius star system and were unable to return home as they had broken their ship when landing. So, what do you think? Could the disc have been a real creation made by aliens that crash landed in Tibet thousands of years ago? Coming in at number 3, the baptism of Christ from 1710. One of the most common depictions that often point towards proof of alien life in historical art is a strange beam of light. And while the usual excuse is that it's meant to be a star, an angel, or a depiction of the Holy Ghost, I have to admit this painting does seem a little suspicious. As you can see at the top of the painting, created by Art de Gelder, there is a pretty clear disc-shaped object that appears to be shining 4 bright beams of light down on John the Baptist and Jesus, which is pretty much textbook definition for any alien UFO ever. As far as conspiracy theorists are concerned, this should be considered undoubted proof that aliens came down to Earth. And I will admit, it's one of the more convincing ones I have seen, because I mean, to their credit, it really does look like a spaceship. If only we could just ask the painter. That would make everything easier. Coming in at number 2, the Annunciation with Saint Emetius in 1486. Another day, another strange beam of light shooting down from the sky in a 15th century painting. This gorgeous piece, painted by the Italian artist Carlo Crivelli, is said to be designed to celebrate the announcement by the angel Gabriel to the Virgin Mary, telling her that she would become the mother of Jesus. But if you look closely, in the top left-hand side of this painting is a peculiar disc that almost looks as if it's on fire, shooting a beam of light through the sky right into the head of the Virgin Mary. Plus, if you look really closely, there is another kind of halo-type figure over her head, with what looks like a small bird flying towards her. Now, to be fair, this painting doesn't come without a scholarly explanation. The flying saucer in the sky is supposed to represent the Holy Spirit, while the beam of light is meant to be Mary receiving Jesus into her womb from the Spirit. But that doesn't mean that everyone is on board with this explanation. I mean, could it be a religious allegory? Sure. But could it also be a spookily accurate depiction of an alien spaceship hiding in plain sight? I don't know, you tell me. And last up today on our number 1 spot, the Uroboon. The Uroboon refers to a mysterious unknown object that was allegedly found drifting off the coast of eastern Japan. According to legend, an attractive young woman arrived at the local beach on February 22nd, 1803. First discovered by some fishermen, they confiscated the ship before they brought her inland for questioning. But strangely, the woman was unable to speak Japanese and was very different from anyone else they had ever seen. Eventually, they walked her back to the ocean, returned her vessel back, and she left, never to be seen again. Now, of course, when this object was seen, many painters began drawing the strange sight, and this object was also depicted in 3 separate texts. So to this day, many believe that the object in question was a UFO coming down to Earth. Said to have been discovered by Hitachi sailors, the UFO, as many claim, was made of steel and glass and supposedly only big enough to fit one small person. And inside the craft, sailors reportedly found strange scripts that they were unable to decipher. So between that, the woman who couldn't speak the language, and just the general look of the thing, it could very well have been an alien UFO.
Number 5. Milky Way radio burst. On April 28, 2020, 2 radio telescopes detected an intense pulse of radio waves, and they only lasted just a millisecond, but they left astronomers baffled. The reason for this is because this was the first time a fast radio burst had been detected this close to Earth. This signal was located only 30,000 light years from Earth, which places it in our Milky Way galaxy. That's pretty damn close. The Canadian Hydrogen Intensity Mapping Experiment, or again, CHIME if you want to save breath, they explained that the signal was so easy to pick up that CHIME wasn't even looking its direction and it still noticed the signal. It was loud and clear right in their peripheral vision. And another telescope, STARE 2, also saw it clear as day. Well, it looks like whatever the cause for the signal, someone or something, we saw it. So now what? We found you. You can come out now. Number 4. The Laurer Burst. This is a fast radio burst that was detected long ago. This was back in 2007, and it was named, of course, after the person who spotted it, Duncan Lorimer. Well, actually, it was discovered when Duncan assigned his student, David Narkovic, to look through archival data taken in 2001 by the Parkes radio dish in Australia. That's when they noticed. After analyzing this data, it was found that there was a dispersed burst that occurred on July 24th, 2001. This burst was less than 5 milliseconds long, and it was located just 3 degrees from the small Magellanic Cloud. It still isn't quite clear what caused said signal, but it's thought that perhaps it may have been a singular event, such as a supernova, or an Avengers level threat. One of the two. Number 3. Light shifts. Back in 2015, a Penn State astronomer named Jason Wright explained that there were pretty erratic and spontaneous shifts in the light that was coming from a star that was newly discovered. Yeah, shifts in light. What's that about? This star sits about 1,280 light years away from Earth, and these shifts were very similar, as if something was passing in front of our view of the star. Scientists weren't able to connect this to any exoplanets or meteors or anything like that, so in turn, Jason whipped up an interesting theory that's lived rent-free in my head ever since. He stated that it's possible that the shifts are caused by massive objects passing in front of the star in a slow orbit, like an array of massive satellites or a structure, like the type of thing that would be produced by an intelligent and civilized life form. Or maybe it's an asteroid. One of the two. Either way, I'm scared. Again. Number 2. Mount Rainier. Not to be confused with Mount Chiliad, although there's definitely aliens there as well. Mount Rainier in Washington was bumpin' and buzzin' back in 1947. Pilot Kenneth Arnold made the first modern report of a flying saucer, or a UAP. Apparently it was a flying egg, actually, that's what it looked like. Kenneth saw 9 circular-shaped objects flying in formation, the classic formation, and they were flying at twice the speed of sound. So the Idaho pilot told the Air Force, and they laughed it off. They didn't believe him at all. He took this claim to his grave. Kenneth stood by what he saw until his death later in 1984. He said that he saw UAPs. He reached out to the Seattle Times in 1977, long before the movie Signs was made, and he said, "I made my report because I thought it was my duty. It was the only proper and American thing to do. I saw what I saw." End quote. And also end point. I'm again terrified. And finally, number 1. the lights. Okay, imagine you're driving home one night after a long shift at work, maybe you worked late and it's midnight. You're driving and you see a V formation, the classic formation in the sky made up of yellow and orange lights. Do you pull over? Do you assume you're just, beyond exhausted and maybe this is all in your head? Because that's what I would do. Back in 2001, on July 14th, drivers along the New Jersey Turnpike saw just that. It was a touch after midnight and cars legit pulled over and people got out to get a better look at what was in the sky. Everybody looked at this thing for around 15 minutes. It was just hovering over top of the Arthur Kill waterway right between Staten Island and New Jersey. Just floating there, just doing alien stuff. One eyewitness, Joe Mavasio, recalls the sighting as one of the most amazing things he had ever seen. And then just like that, the lights vanished. They faded out one by one in typical alien fashion. Daniel Tarrant of the Carteret Police Department recalls seeing this with his own eyes as well. It was 16 golden covered lights in a V formation. Aliens are fun and all, but keep your eyes on the roads, my friends, I'm not looking at anything. Aliens or not, 10 and 2, we're getting home. That's it. Seatbelts, I'm checking those mirrors. No aliens back there, we're good.
Coming in at number 5, Wena. For a long time, a lot of indigenous culture was passed down orally through stories. One of these such stories from Australian Aboriginal mythology talks about spirits named the Wena, and as they tell it, the Wena came down from the sky and created the earth as well as all of its inhabitants. Then, when the spirit found the place they would die, they painted their image on cave walls and entered a nearby watering hole. These paintings were then refreshed by indigenous people as a method of generating their life force. But what is intriguing about this tale in particular is that these spirits are depicted all over in the form of ancient rock paintings and appear to date back about 4,000 years. Plus, around the heads of the Wena are lines or blocks of color seemingly depicting lightning coming out of their helmets, which is definitely a little suspicious. And many believers have been quick to point out the acute resemblance to the description of greys given by alleged alien abductees. If you don't know, greys are pretty much the classic depiction of an alien and are thought to be one of the extraterrestrial races, with UFOologists claiming they make up about 40% of reported abductions and sightings in the US. But could greys have come down, created life on Earth, and then disappeared into the night? Maybe. Who knows? Coming in at number 4, a flaming shield. Similarly to the Roman historical report, other cultures too recorded significant happenings, and the Annales Lauricenses Maiores, which recorded much of history between 680 AD and 829 AD in what is now modern-day Germany, is definitely filled with some mysterious and interesting stories. One tale in particular took place during the time where battalions of Saxon soldiers were attacking, and it details as the attack progressed, suddenly a bizarre object appeared in the skies overhead. The potential UFO was described as the likeness of 2 large flaming shields, reddish in color and appearing as though it was floating in the skies above them. Apparently the object was so frightening that the advancing Saxon army abandoned the fight and retreated back to safety, something that would have been incredibly unusual for them. Now, the only hole to poke in this is that the author is unknown, but it is widely accepted that writers of the time would record events as they happened, and that these stories would be compiled at a later date into the finished work. So just because we don't know who wrote it doesn't mean we don't know for sure it didn't happen. Coming in at number 3, lizard people. One of the wildest conspiracies out there is the belief that there is a race of half human, half lizard people that are taking over the world. Now, I will admit, this one is a little trickier for me to get behind for several reasons. However, after finding out about this piece of the puzzle, I am definitely a little curious. Although the conspiracy wasn't popularized until the 1990s, in the beginning of the 20th century, archaeologist Harry Reginald Hall made an unsettling discovery that definitely brought up a lot of questions. The archaeological site in question is referred to as Tal al-Ubaid and has served as a gold mine for ancient artifacts. However, by far, the strangest uncovered artifacts have to be the multiple series of lizard humanoid statues found by Harry in 1919. From what archaeologists can deduce, they don't appear to represent gods, as they aren't depicted in ceremonious poses, and so it has led many to believe they could be early depictions of the race of lizard people. I mean, I won't lie, these little statues are super creepy, and maybe one of the only times the lizard people theory has got me feeling a little suspicious. I don't know, do you think these figurines really could be proof of the evil lizard race invading the planet? Coming in at number 2, an alien mummy? Mummies are everywhere in Egypt, so while they are definitely interesting, they rarely cause any kind of huge excitement in the archaeological community, unless it's a particularly special one. Well, as I'm sure you've put together at this point, a few years ago, Dr. Victor Lubeck, who was a retired professor from the University of Pennsylvania, uncovered a strange mummy that made him question what he was seeing. Discovered in a small pyramid near Senusret II's pyramid was the mummy of a small, unidentified creature with seemingly no resemblance to that of a human body or known animal. To make things even more strange, buried along with the humanoid mummy were unusual objects Victor was unable to identify. What was clear was that whatever this was mummified with great respect and care, and an inscription was found on the tomb that roughly translates to star or sent from heaven. The running conspiracy theory is that it was an alien who was involved in some way with advising the pharaoh Senusret II, which would explain his royal treatment and careful mummification. I mean, it's definitely unsettling and absolutely an unusual find, but is it an alien? I mean, I guess it could be. And last up today in our number 1 spot, the Sumerian Civilization. The ancient Sumerians were a group of people that suddenly became established in Mesopotamia circa 2900 BCE. No one is quite sure where they came from originally, but there is a general conspiracy that is well documented that their origins were not from planet Earth. According to a series of ancient texts, the Sumerians were created by an alien race called the Anunnaki, who came to Earth after their planet Nibiru collided with another planet in the solar system. The aliens found themselves in a short supply of gold and saw that Earth was in high supply, so they landed here and supposedly created a new species that was half alien, half human to mine the gold for them. Now, it does sound a little crazy, but the Sumerians did have advanced scientific, agricultural, and technological knowledge, as well as an acute understanding of the solar system, which was highly advanced at their time. Researchers have recorded clay pot batteries that still contained electrodes, a flyable model airplane, as well as an unexplainable capability to cut large stones with exact precision. Not to mention, similarly to the Egyptians, Sumerians seemed familiar and depicted drawings of rockets, airplanes, and helicopters on certain artifacts from their time too. And if that didn't make you even just a bit curious, they have also discovered mitochondrial DNA evidence linked to a woman in Africa dating more than 100,000 years ago near a gold mine. While of course we might never know for sure, the legend of the Anunnaki has made even some of the biggest skeptics question the reality of aliens.
At number 5 is the interstellar broken telephone. Scientists recently sent a signal out to space aiming to chat with potential extraterrestrial pals. They even made a list of stars likely to get the message within the next 100 years. And guess what? They're hoping to hear back by 2029. These smart folks did some big math to figure out how far their messages will travel and when any replies might show up if they do. They shared their cool calculations in a science journal called Publications of the Astronomical Society of the Pacific. But the tricky part is that when we send these kind of radio signals out to space, they get weaker and harder to catch as they zoom along. So to make sure our messages have more oomph, scientists used NASA's super-powered deep space network. Some earlier attempts at this space chatting happened in the past, as back in 2002, we pinged a dead star about 27 light years away. And in the 80s, we messaged 2 stars expecting a reply by 2030. But not everybody thinks that this is a good idea. Some scientists worry that if aliens respond, we might not even notice. We only spread about one millionth of the Milky Way with our signals. That's like trying to yell in a cosmic empty stadium. And number 4 is the beacon in the galaxy. We've been trying to talk to potential aliens for a while now. It's like sending a message in bottomless space. The first attempt was in 1974 with the Arecibo message. Fast forward to now, and scientists are still at it trying to figure out the best way to say hi to whoever might be out there. This new message, called the beacon in the galaxy, is like a crash course in everything that humans know. Math, chemistry, bio, you name it. But the tricky part is reminiscent of the golden record from earlier earlier, how do you write a message that an alien can understand? We can't use our languages or even numbers or symbols because let's face it, aliens aren't gonna know our ABCs or 1, 2, 3s. So we use a kind of code, like a computer language called binary. It's like all ones and zeros, kind of like how computers talk. But even some really smart people on Earth had trouble decoding this binary message. Imagine aliens trying to figure it out. They might not even know what binary is. These messages also have drawings and diagrams about us and our place in the universe, but aliens might not be able to even see things the way we do, so even if they do get our message, they might not understand what we're trying to show them. And number 3 is the Arecibo message. This message was humanity's very first big attempt to send a message to aliens. It's basically a letter hoping aliens would find it. This all went down in 1974 when scientists sent a super strong signal into space from Puerto Rico. It was like a big hello to any possible aliens in a star cluster called M13, super far away from us, about 21,000 light years far. The message they sent was pretty simple. It had patterns and information about us, Earth, our solar system, but again, it was in binary made of ones and zeros. Now, it's unlikely we will ever get a response to this message in particular, but hey, at least we tried. At number 2 is the WOW signal. Wow. In 1977, a radio signal called the WOW signal made scientists go, wow. It was caught by a telescope at Ohio State University and lasted for 72 seconds. But after that, it disappeared, never to be heard again. The astronomer who discovered it was so amazed, he circled the signal on the data sheet and wrote wow next to it, and hence its name. Now, the signal didn't come with a message or anything. It was just a strong burst of radio waves. Scientists have been trying to find its source for ages. One idea might be it comes from a star in the Sagittarius constellation, but experts say we can't jump to conclusions. And at number 1 is interspecies communication. What do whale experts and alien hunters have in common? A lot more than you'd think, actually. This group of scientists got together and worked with their goal being to chat with whales. They did this experiment with a humpback whale named Twain. It wasn't like a full-on chat about life in the ocean, but it was still amazing. They used a special whale sound, kind of like a hello, to see if whales would reply. And then Twain showed up. For about 20 minutes, they kept making the sound, and Twain responded each time. Now, what's cool is that she even matched the gaps between their sounds. Like if they waited 10 seconds, she waited 2 before replying. It's a real conversation. Why is this important? Well, scientists think if we can understand how animals talk to us, we might be able to figure out how aliens could communicate with us as well. Imagine if whales taught us how to chat with extraterrestrials. It's pretty cool. As always, if there's a conversation with aliens that you think I've missed, feel free to let me know down in the comments. This has been AJ with Most Amazing, and I'll catch you all in another video. Later.
Want to see more videos like this one? Check out this video next. This video is about evil demons that the church captured on camera. We have found real footage of creepy-ass aliens that tried to take over the world, and there's proof. Check out the video now if you don't believe us.